Miami Living with Levi. This show is being hosted in the Community Newspapers Media Center. Today, our special guest is Commissioner Ken Russell of the City of Miami. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thanks, Levi. Thanks for having me.
Commissioner Russell, we're gonna do a little bit of an overview. I think many people that are watching this show may not be as familiar with Miami. We have a lot, as you know, of transient people moving toward Miami from New York, LA, San Francisco, DC, Boston. We're seeing a lot of traffic coming to Florida, and I think a big part of people moving to Miami is giving them an education as to where everything is situated. So in my tutorials when I do my real estate stuff is usually a 40,000 foot Google map view. Mm-hmm. And I show them, this is Miami Beach, and this is Bal Harbor, and this is Aventura. And then there's all this stuff on the other side of the water. And so if you're watching us today and you're unfamiliar with it, Miami is not just the Miami broad. The city of Miami specifically is not the Miami Beach Collins Avenue section that most tourists or transient people are familiar with. When you cross the causeway and go over the bay, you get to mainland Miami, and then there are different sections within that. And the commissioner oversees the city of Miami proper. So if you've heard of Brickell, Edgewater, downtown,
Coconut
Grove is an example. All of those are part of the city of Miami. Many people, we've talked a lot about World Center and the expansion of a $4.2 billion development project that is similar in scale to a Hudson Yards. If you're from New York and watching this, that's happening right there in downtown Miami, in the city of Miami. And Commissioner Russell is very intrinsically involved in a lot of what goes on there, from zoning to health issues. And so, Commissioner, welcome again.
Thanks very much. Yeah, people think of Miami as all of South Florida, and it's really a brand that's been generated by this city.
Yeah.
A brand so strong, even the county adopted the name. When it used to be Dade County, it's now Miami-Dade County. But the true OG Miami is actually 125 years old this year, and it's just that section along the water's edge that it also includes inland from the neighborhoods you mentioned. Also includes Little Havana and Alapata. Out toward the airport and everything toward the coast. And then the southern end is Coconut Grove. The northern end borders at El Portal. But it's about 500,000 people, and it's the heartbeat of all of South Florida. All of downtown and Brickell, that bustling energy and economy is all coming from the city of Miami, and specifically this district.
That's exactly how I describe it. I call it the heartbeat, and the life of Miami really beats. It really beats and pushes from the downtown Brickell, Wynwood design district, all of that, and then outward into the suburbs. And you have Coconut Grove, which you get less land, a little smaller property, but you're close to the action.
Yep.
You go further, the Gables, the lots get sometimes a little bigger. Then you get into Pinecrest, where you're acre plus lots, but you're in the suburbs and you're a little further now from downtown Miami.
Yep.
And Miami Beach itself in the same way. It spreads out from there. But the city of Miami is really where the core of life in Miami is. So you, speaking of 125 years in Miami native, you are from Miami, born and raised?
47 years ago, yes. Doctor's Hospital in Coral Gables. That's where I was born, and I grew up in the Grove and on Key Biscayne. And I left in the late 70s, came back about 20 years ago.
Wow. So you're not 47 years ago, born in Miami, 20 of those last years here, and you've been living in Coconut Grove most of that time. So I know
Yes.
You live in the Grove now, right?
I do. I live right in front of Merry Christmas Park, which had been closed for contamination. And my kids were, very young at the time, and I wasn't in politics, but I was actually a surfboard salesman. But I got upset about a contaminated park, got in a discussion, we'll call it, with the city, and organized my neighborhood, and we got the park cleaned up. Found out there were 5 other contaminated parks in the city, and I ran for office, and all of those are cleaned up now, and I've been a commissioner for the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, we love Merry Christmas Park. I have 2 kids myself, they're 5 and turning 7 soon, and so we're still very much in a playground park. My son learned to play. My son learned to ride bicycle at the Kennedy Park in Coconut Grove, the rubberized track and the grass on both sides, so that he could fall and not hurt himself, even though he still managed to find the one telephone pole and drive into it. But yeah, beautiful. That's a beautiful bayfront park that's in Coconut Grove. And I'm myself am looking to purchase real estate, and I'm very recently offering on a house that is just across the street from Merry Christmas Park. So thanks for cleaning that up.
Pleasure.
But Coconut Grove, where you live, where I live, I think it's a magical place. It's really the heart of Miami. I mean, the city hall for the city of Miami is right there on the bay in Coconut Grove, where our office is as well. Is that essentially where your office is?
So yes, that's the old historic Pan Am seaplane base is now converted to City Hall for city of Miami. The 5 commissioners and the mayor and the city manager are based there. I'm very lucky. It's in my district in Coconut Grove where I live, so it's just a very short drive every morning. But it's a very green part of the city as well. You can find Coconut Grove on Google Earth just by looking at it, and you'll see the green. And that's because of the tree protection code that we have. And it shows, it makes a difference. And it's a cooler part of city, and that not only the temperature, the oxygen, but it also actually helps home values as well.
That's very much a part of my 40,000 foot overview. One of the first things I tell is if you switch the map to satellite view and you look for green, you're going to like those neighborhoods. Those are neighborhoods with large lot lines, neighborhoods with big tree canopies, lots of parks, and it just, it really helps, you identify neighborhoods that people are looking to be. Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, they show up very green on those areas. Pinecrest shows up really green on that neighborhood. I live in Coconut Grove. I actually live in the South Grove, but the north end of the South Grove, just inside of the tree canopy. If you look at the map, like where I live is just underneath the first set of trees, and it really makes a huge difference in the enjoyment of life. It's like the trees are giving you a little hug when you're.
I remember when I was a little kid, just in the back of the car and seeing the banyan trees over the street, and I thought they were like broccoli, giant broccoli.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know a lot of your audience is in the world of development and real estate, and I have this discussion all the time because Coconut Grove is full of old hippies as well. It's very artsy and music related neighborhood, and they love their trees, right? And so people think there is this battle, this binary choice and battle between tree protection and development. And the idea that if you are able to build out the full square footage of a lot, that you can maximize the value of the lot. But we have an argument in Coconut Grove that it's actually that canopy that has created that per square foot value that exists there now.
1,000%.
And it's worthy of protecting.
1,000%. And I see developers all the time. You've been actually instrumental in protecting that tree canopy. I've seen that over the years. And there's a battle. The developers want to maximize square footage, but they wouldn't be getting that in Coconut Grove. And Coconut Grove, if it were in Coconut Grove, and the Grove wouldn't be what it is without that tree canopy. And so I continue to push it. I'm a big fan of that. When you drive a buyer through Coconut Grove for the first time, I always tell them it is Miami's best kept secret. I honestly, I would love to see all of my friends move here, but it is important, I think, to keep all of that. So tell us about, I guess, some of the initiatives. What are we doing to keep Miami green? I want to talk a little bit about the future, just a few topics just to keep in mind. The future of Miami. What does development in Miami look like? And where's your picture on everything that's going on and how Miami is being affected in a world of Corona and COVID, and where you kind of see things transferring as we barrel on further into that.
Right. Well, for not having an income tax, the city of Miami relies on a real estate tax base. And so we watch the world of real estate very carefully, and we have to budget based on that. If we see the values of homes and condos dropping, we have to budget accordingly with how we're going to be able to handle our city for the coming year: services, police, fire, garbage, everything. And so we're constantly looking at that. And when COVID hit, there was a lot of concern because of the hit to the economy. Would that hit also translate into home values and bottom line of the city? And we were shoring up for massive losses in the city. We thought we were going to have tens of millions in losses, but the housing market has held up, which has really given us a comfort level. We did have a deficit. We did end last year with a deficit. We had to balance our budget for this year, but it's nowhere near what we thought it would be. So we're quite optimistic. Combine that with the American Rescue Plan, which will yield the city of Miami $140 million over the next year.
I think I saw this. This is a bill you wrote with you and Mayor Suarez put together and sent to.
So we put together a resolution, but it wasn't just us. I mean, in the CARES Act, cities our size got $0 at all, nothing, and so we were still on the front lines with testing and mitigation and economic recovery and rent assistance and everything we were trying to do to prop our city up and get through this, but we weren't a beneficiary of any of the federal dollars in the first plan. So we actually did lobby the U.S. government and Congress for this past year to see that municipalities did have support and funding, because that'll help, exponentially recover the economy if we are there with all the services we need, from permitting and zoning and everything in the building side, but also the services that our residents need and the help. So the mayor actually going and meeting with Biden as well as the legislation that I wrote urging the passage, I'm sure was one voice in a very large chorus of cities across the country asking for that plan. So it's going to be very helpful for us.
And do we know where we stand with that?
So it is fully passed. The president signed it. So our first payment at the city of Miami will probably be within the next 2 months at about half the total. So we'll see about 70 million in the first 2 months and then another 70 million within a year.
That's fantastic.
It'll really help fill the bottom line. Yeah.
That's amazing. I saw recently that you did, you were instrumental in a water access change that was just voted at one of the council meetings.
Yes, I used to be a professional surfboard salesman and kite surfing instructor. That's where I come from, is just living and working in the Bay 8 hours a day. So
how does Miami rank? And I'm not much of a surfer, and I know we have a great kite surfing. I know a lot of sailing and kite surfing in the Biscayne Bay is huge, and Key Biscayne. How do we rank in terms of surfing around
proper
the world?
surf?
Proper
the
surf,
Bahamas,
so
the Bahamas, unfortunately, shelter all of the groundswell that we would see from the Atlantic, and that shelter doesn't stop until you get to about Palm Beach. Right as the sort of the edge of Florida curves inward, that's where the waves start getting a little better. So we get storm-related waves, and it's sort of a wind swell, not a ground swell. It's less predictable and less enjoyable, but we got a surf scene nonetheless. But kite surfing is where I came from, and that is this is a great spot for that.
It's really strong in the Biscayne Bay. That I've seen, and we're not far from the Bahamas. I mean, you can be there.
I have
boat.
kite surfed to the Bahamas.
You've kite surfed to the Bahamas.
Yes.
Wow.
And so there's so much here, and that's made me realize in this new hat that I wear in a public policy and legislative perspective, what we need to protect and how that actually helps the city thrive. And that environmental access that we have to the bay and the water and all the life that's there, there's not another major city of our size where you can be in an urban core in 1 minute and then in the next minute looking at a manatee, 100 yards away from there, or a peacock, or macaws in the trees. It's just such a lush and amazing place. It's worthy of protecting. So a lot of the legislation
part of our tropical allure. It's our waters, it's our trees, and it goes right back to our discussion about Coconut Grove. You have to protect those things, and that will draw more people to it. So you're working on.
So water access is really big, but also water quality and protection of water, and a lot of the pollution in our bay. We had a massive fish kill last year, millions of fish. And solving that mystery and seeing what the causes are from the development side, from the municipal side, and the resident side, and what can we all do to work together to get past that. I'm again optimistic, but access is really important. Places to launch your kayak or your paddleboard, places to get in the water, places to store your boat. Those are all things we think about in the city of Miami.
Speaking of boating, we're looking for more boating for more places to stash boats. A big thing in COVID, everybody ran out and got a boat. And so, we saw, and I'm a boater. I keep my boat on the Coral Gables waterway. Mm-hmm. And I know that we have a Gables a commission advisory board for the city of Coral Gables and the Gables waterway. And they've done a lot to clean it up and make sure that everybody has more access to it, and that it's there was just graffiti under bridges, cleaned and gone. But I have a boat, and I've been fortunate enough to keep it in the water in Coral Gables. During the pandemic, there was a lot of shutdown in terms of marinas and access. Mm-hmm. But everybody ran out afterwards and got boats, and they seem to have no place to stick them. Does the city have anything?
Hurricane Irma before that wiped out a lot of the dockage and the wet slips. The city of Miami actually is surprisingly quietly one of the largest marina owners in Florida. So on City of Miami land, you've got everything from Maya Marina behind City Hall in the Coconut Grove, mm-hmm. which is Florida's largest wet slip marina of anything, private or public. We also have the Rickenbacker Marina out on Virginia Key. We have Maya Marina in Bayside. Monty's Marina right there. These are all city-owned properties. Some are managed by the city. Some are leased out to management groups,
like Prime Marina, where our office is, next to the Monty's.
That is City of Miami land,
city-owned,
leased out to an operator. Yeah,
and then so it's leased out to an operator, but it is owned by the City of Miami.
Yes.
Okay, so the city owns a lot of it. Does the city have any plans? Is there anybody talking about creating more spaces for boats, for yachts? I know that they recently did the mega yacht marina off of Jungle Island. Where you have what's the name of the drawing a quick blank over here, the the little beach restaurant.
Joya.
We have Joya, and
Yeah.
you have the deck at Island Gardens, and they have right outside there this beautiful mega yacht marina. It's beautiful to come in and see these gorgeous, some of them 200-300-foot yachts.
Yeah.
But for people that just have a 28-foot Boston Whaler or an Intrepid, what are we? Is there anybody talking about that at the moment, or should that be a discussion?
We also have a lot of city and county-owned boat ramps. So people, if they don't have their boat at a marina, they have access to get to the water. But there's really not enough, and it's not so much about new plans of expanding. It's really about protecting what we have, because every time one of these leases come up, we're under pressure to develop them in a commercial way beyond marina access, and whether we convert them to restaurants or hotels or residential or whatever. And to recognize that water access is still a part of Miami's DNA, and we need to protect it. There's only so much waterfront space we have, and we want to have as much access of the public to it as possible. We always fight to extend and protect those leases for those marinas. One of my biggest initiatives I'm working on that I'm hoping to really put a dent in before I leave office is the Miami Baywalk. We have it in our ordinance for 40 years that if anyone develops anything on the waterfront of the city of Miami, they have to give public access, build on their dime, a sidewalk 25 feet wide for everyone to connect to the bay.
That's not inclusive of single family residential.
Correct.
Homes. Everything except for single family residential homes.
Yes.
But essentially any development all up along Edgewater, which hugs the Biscayne, which is built up against
Correct.
the Biscayne
Public
Bay,
and
downtown, Brickell, and so on. All of that. Any development whatsoever, and up the river as well, which is all mostly part of a big chunk of it is part of the city.
Yes,
of
and when it's complete, it would be from Brickell Bay Drive, right at 15th there,
okay,
all the way up to the Julia Tuttle Causeway. You would be able to walk nonstop.
Amazing.
And people don't know about it because it has missing teeth in the smile. It's missing parts to it. And so if you can't really jog, run, or bike the whole thing, you don't use it at all, and you don't even know it exists. But the truth is we're only missing 9 parts to it right now. And so I'm looking for every way I can to piece together that puzzle and complete that Miami Baywalk as an amenity for the city. But more importantly, as a front line to storm surge and sea level rise.
Well, I imagine you meet some opposition with that, and I hope that you're able to overcome it, because I'm a big believer in whatever brings people to the bay and gives people more access to the water will in effect translate into drawing more people to Miami, and to really reinvigorating what we have, and driving up the values all throughout. People ask all the time whether or not to, if they're going to buy a place in Miami, should it be on the water, should it not be on the water? People are afraid of sea level rise. I explain to people that a lot has to do with elevation, more whether you're on the water or off the water is not always
right.
It's not always
People's
that
waterway,
it's not that
example.
simple.
Yeah.
So there are areas that are very low lying, where you're in a flood zone, or it doesn't have the elevation that you'd be looking for. So if in the event of storm surge, your property is really more at risk than it would be, and that could be on or off the water. True. So this place is on the water. We have 14-foot elevations, and you're in a flood zone X. You're not. We'd have to have biblical proportion storms to get flooding at 14 feet or 17 feet.
It happens though, and we just went through a multi-million-dollar exercise called our Stormwater Master Plan to do a really high definition LiDAR scan of the city to see where those low spots are, even inland. And the fact that we have porous limestone underneath us, when the water table's high or a king tide, that water's coming up even inland and through storm drains, even when it's not raining. But because we have that knowledge, we're now able to mitigate that. And we passed a $400 million general obligation bond called Miami Forever, half of which must be spent on stormwater mitigation. We've put in over 100 one-way tidal valves that keeps those the king tides from coming up and flooding the streets. So rather than put our head in the sand and say this isn't coming, we look at it head on and we mitigate for it. And that shores up our financial future, because the banks, the insurance companies, they see us taking the right steps. And that means Miami will be safe for investment in the future.
I agree. And I'm very excited about seeing Baywalk. I'm excited about this project that was it $4 million that you guys had put towards tell me a little bit more about that. We touched on it, and then I might have derailed you a moment, but giving people more access to the water for kayak ramps and
so what we passed at commission recently. It's something we do actually annually, and it's an organization through the state called the Florida Inland Navigation District Find, and they pretty much match any of our dollars, so that these massive waterfront projects only cost us half as much.
Really?
And so if there's a $1 million kayak launch that we're putting in with a seawall restoration or a living shoreline, they can meet us with half of that. And so that was putting in the application to them, as we do on an annual basis for these big projects. 2 of them were kayak launches in a couple of our city parks. And some of them were shoreline restorations in other city-owned properties. So we can find and leverage these dollars so it's not all on the shoulders of our local taxpayer.
That's amazing. And so in total, we've put 4 and they're matching 4. We
Yes,
put in 2.
that's the way it would come out. Yeah.
So it'll come out. So it'll be an $8 million investment.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. That's great to hear. Shifting gears a little bit towards real estate development and the future of Miami. As an example, we touched on Paramount World Center, or World Center as a whole, which is what I think a 27-acre development site in downtown Miami, right next to where the 195 meets the I-95, with the Tri-Rail, the Metro Rail, the Metro Mover, and the Brightline, or the now Virgin train that will take you all the way up to Orlando. It's a centric spot. It's all in downtown Miami, part of the city of Miami. Huge development site that's a little over $4 billion of investment coming into that city of Miami, right into the city and downtown heart of Miami. What is it that you see as the future of Miami? Any thoughts that you have on where Miami is heading? Other such areas that we're looking to develop and grow, and just your general thoughts on development in the future of Miami.
Sure. And World Center is a perfect example of a transformational project that can take place in a blighted area. And through the right set of zoning and incentives and requirements, we create something that serves that neighborhood and activates what was otherwise a dead space. What we have to be careful of is that the city keeps up with that development in terms of infrastructure. So if we encourage full-on development to shore up the economy, but we don't keep up with transit, green space, and the other infrastructure issues we need for, you name it, the environment, water, schools, whatever, that's when it becomes overdevelopment. As long as we keep up with what's needed to keep quality of life in check and in pace with that development, it can actually serve the neighborhood and be a very positive thing. And some very large projects like that give us a lot of opportunity to find those requirements, and World Center was one of them.
Got it. How far does the city of Miami's reach go? So we have downtown, yep, Edgewater, Wynwood, Midtown.
Yep, that's also City of Miami. That's another transformational
design
project.
District on the north side of
Design
36.
District.
And then how far do we?
You can keep going right north. Buena Vista, Little Haiti, Morningside. That all remains City of Miami. Shorecrest, Belmead. It stops right at the river before El Portal. That's the city edge of the city of Miami.
So Little Haiti, El Portal, Buena Vista, which is Buena Vista is just north, for anybody who doesn't know, just north of the Design District.
Yep.
It's a great little neighborhood. Also a little historic area that is very sort of reminiscent also of Coconut Grove. Lots of tree canopy and
stucco, old 1920s,
old 1920s and 30s, beautiful homes. That some of them are historically protected, and it's just a very nice neighborhood. And at this point, I remember that time when you could have real estate in Buena Vista for nothing, 100,000, 180,000, 200,000 tops. And now those same homes today, and we're not talking, maybe a decade and a half or so. And now those homes are, they're millions, 800, probably would be the lowest I've seen anything that would be similar to what I'm speaking of. But some of them $1.8 million, $2 million, $2.5 million. So it's exciting to see that neighborhood bustling. But I think a lot of that is now it's got this proximity to the Design District that has all the shopping, all these restaurants, all these ice cream spots, and there's a scene there. There's nightlife, and you could walk into Midtown, and your seconds. You can take a little scooter, which I've done from Design District into Wynwood. Everything's really close. So we've seen that World Center is developing, and there's a huge project over there. Where is the focus for maybe for investors? I know a lot of people are looking to Alapata, and they're buying industrial warehouses. Where do you see development moving north from that area? Sure.
And so it used to be that all of the development interest and investment was happening in District 2, where I serve, which is Brickell, downtown, Edgewater, the waterfront of the city. But more and more, the city is seeing investment in other up-and-coming neighborhoods. From Little Haiti to Alapata, people are investing there, and for several reasons. One is the earlier issue we talked about storm surge, where they're looking for the ridge. They're looking for that high land as a safe investment for the future, which is the opposite. Everyone used to say it's waterfront all the time, forever, always by waterfront. But we're also not retreating from the waterfront. We believe waterfront will always retain its value. We just need to adjust our code so that structures can be built to withstand storm surge and sea level rise, and that the infrastructure of those neighborhoods can, flush out the water as needed. So I'm optimistic, for both the ridge and the coastline. But we really want to make sure that Miami is here for everyone, because it is currently the most unaffordable city in the entire country. And so it's number one, actually, in terms of how much people spend of their income on their rent or mortgage. And so what that means is, if we're not careful, the people who really keep the city bustling and working will have to commute further and further, and that creates more of a transit and traffic issue. So really creating these neighborhoods where people can all be together in the neighborhood, and you don't have to commute an hour to get here. That's what we're going to start seeing more and more of, is centralized development within neighborhoods, rather than commuting neighborhoods for everyone to work in downtown but live in Allapattah, for example. You're going to see, a commercial center in Allapattah where people can work and live and play and everything right there.
Yeah, and just we don't want to see everybody priced out of the market. I myself, I'm grabbing a house. I'm nervous that I'm never going to be able to live in Coconut Grove or Coral Gables if I don't grab something today. There's a strong sense of that, and we want to be able to keep people that are the workforce and the livelihood, that are really like the lifeblood of Miami, inside of Miami. So it's exciting to see those little areas developing and having more concentrated, high density development. Mm-hmm. Excellent. In closing, I think we just have a few more minutes left. Anything else that you think is important or relevant to people that are moving from Miami? Things that they should consider, or just general happy thoughts for where we're going, where the city of Miami is taking us?
It is coming out of a really tough year. It's hard to think of happy thoughts, but again, I can only say optimism. That's really how I look at us moving forward, not only from an economic recovery, but from our city and where we are right now. We're becoming more and more of an urbanist city, where it's becoming more walkable and bikeable and enjoyable. And you're in South Florida, so it really should be. And so people can move here expecting to spend a lot of their time outside in their own garden or our parks and the waterways and everything. And so it's just the job of policymakers like myself to ensure that access and environment is still there for everybody and protected while the city grows, so that we don't have an imbalance. And all I can say is that I think we have a really bright future in the short and long term, and Miami is an exciting place to be. Best city in the world.
It is the best city in the world, and it's refreshing to have policymakers like yourself out there fighting, making change. I've watched your career from at the beginning. I remember when you were running. We had a mutual friend. Went to drop some keys off at your house outside of Merry Christmas Park. You were telling me you're having a fundraiser, and I said, this guy's going places. I remember you were knocking on doors, and so. But I've seen you come in, make incredible changes. I live in the Grove. I'm thankful of all the efforts you've put into the recent repaving and redevelopment of Main Highway, which has been just a disaster to walk around for so many years. And people, it's such a busy and centric part of Coconut Grove, and nobody's really given it the attention it deserves. So I like that you give attention to things. I hope that you are successful in completing the Baywalk project before you leave office, or at the very least getting somebody lighting the candle in the flame of the next guy after you. For those of you that are just watching us, again, it's Commissioner Ken Russell of the city of Miami. Commissioner Russell is actually very active on social media. He has a very, very, very regular Facebook lives, Instagram lives, active Twitter account.
Even started TikTok. I'm got to reach the kids.
The TikTok commissioner, yeah. I love it.
Ken Russell.
Do you have a handle? Ken Russell.
Yeah, all of them. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Look up Ken Russell Miami.
Everything will be Ken Russell Miami or at Ken Russell Miami. I love watching you and seeing what you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing. Thanks for coming on the show. And for anybody tuning in now, if any questions, reach out to us. My name is Levi Meyer of the Meyer Group at Compass. Again, we're here in the Community Newspapers Media Center. And thanks for tuning in to Miami Living with Levi, and we'll see you next